Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. And as always, we are brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now, it's Wednesday morning. As you know, we usually have an esteemed guest. Today, we've got two. We've got old mate Andrew Parkinson joining us live in the studio as well. Parky, how are you, my mate?
I'm very well, thanks, Nick. It's great to be here.
It's always great to have you on board. And we've also got a guest from international waters, from overseas, Miguel Da Costa. He's a French journalist based in New York covering the NBA. Miguel, how are you, sir?
Hello, guys. Very nice to be there with you guys. And I'm very good. Can't complain. I hope you guys are doing well, too.
Yeah, we're all good down here. We're all enjoying the NBA action, Miguel. Now, we know you're over there in New York. You've been covering the league as a whole, but obviously based in New York. You've been seeing a lot of the Brooklyn Nets and New York Knicks this season. We're going to touch on the Brooklyn Nets a little bit later. But first, we want to start off with one of the NBA awards that was handed out yesterday, and that was the NBA Defensive Player of the Year. Marcus Smart from the Brooklyn Nets, from the Boston Celtics, has been named NBA Defensive Player of the Year. He beat out Michael Bridges for the award, so he got 37 first-place votes, 257 total points to Bridges' 202 total points. Three-time winner Rudy Gobert finished third this year with 136 total points. Marcus Smart also becomes the first guard since Gary Payton in 1995-96 to win the award, and just the third guard overall behind Michael Jordan and obviously Gary Payton. First of all, I want to ask, we'll start off with you, Miguel. Your thoughts on Marcus Smart winning this award, and did he deserve it?
I'm a bit torn on that question, to be honest with you, because Marcus Smart deserves it for sure, but my vote went for Michael Bridges because of the record that the Suns had, and because of the way he can also defend from 1 to 5, and his improvement in general in both ends on the floor, but he's been a beast defensively on the team that has the best record of the season. But it's also good to see guys like Smart getting it, because they've been giving the prize to pretty much big men almost 9 of 10 times. So to see like a combo guard that gets the prize, it's also a good sign for the other players that are not big men. So yeah, I would say my heart will have gone to Bridges, but it's a deserved prize and deserved like trophy won by Marcus Smart.
I like that also. We know that you're French, Miguel. That you didn't give your vote to Rudy Gobert just strictly because he's French.
No. Like I was a bit fed up of like having big men like always winning I'm an old school basketball lover, and I love traditional like centers and all that, like Gobert. But I think that at some point you have to also change, winning like 2, 3, 4 times in like in the span of like 4 or 5 years. You need something else. So yeah, and other players have been showing up very well, and so it's good to see smaller players getting also trophies.
Parky, what did you make of it? What did you think of Marcus Smart winning the award?
No, I thought that was it was great, as Miguel said, to get it to a guard. I really thought that Rudy Gobert was going to probably get it though. But look, Miguel, I've got a question for you, mate. I know it's just been awarded the Defensive Player of the Year award, but I heard the other day the Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, has proclaimed himself that he's going to win next year's Defensive Player of the Year award. I mean, is that a fantasy, or do you think that he's got potential to be able to do that?
Well, he has potential, but there's also a lot of guys that are also very good, and Anthony Edwards speaks a lot. What I call he suffers a bit from German great syndrome.
That's a nice way of saying it.
And so no disrespect, but like they speak a lot, and it's good, but he has the physical potential to do that. But I still think that he has to learn some defensive fundamentals, because being able to defend at 20 or 21 with your athletic capacities and abilities it's one thing, but when you play against like older players and guys that learn basketball a different way, that switch on defense or don't switch on defense, you have to get adjusted to that. And I still think that is a bit a work in progress in defensive end. He can win it at some point because of his athletic tools, but I don't see his basketball IQ and defensive basketball IQ reach like at least not even 50% of his potential, which is a tremendous potential. But I will talk about that in a year, but I'm not sure he will be in the discussion for that next year.
So I just want to point out in regards to Marcus Smart also, I mean, the Celtics had probably the league best defense this season. They posted a defensive rating of 106.2 and allowed the fewest points per game, 104.5. They also held opponents to the lowest field goal percentage, 43.4%, and three-point field goal percentage, which was 33.9. So, look, it is deserved, right, from Marcus Smart because he is the leader of that, Celtics defense, and the numbers don't lie. And look, Mikal Bridges, like we've said, has been absolutely fantastic for the Suns, league best team, but you look at these numbers over here, and Smart's a crucial member of that, so you can't go wrong, right?
No, and you saw that in Game 1 against the Nets at the Celtics. Marcus Smart, he had a bit of time on Durant and Kyrie, and I think they're gonna need that prowess, his defensive prowess. But the Celtics as a team are very good defensively. What they did I know it was only one game, against Durant, but that's how the Celtics got their run going after the All-Star break. Well, actually, since about Christmas, they were probably the best team in the NBA, and that was because of their defensive, and Marcus Smart was a huge part of that.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. Like the way that the Celtics improved, the way they turned things around. And to be honest with you, I had some doubts at the beginning of the season because of Emil Doka as a head coach, for a team and the roster, the way it's been built, all of that. I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. He's a talented guy, but I was like, is the leap too big for him to go from like being an assistant for the Sixers, Spurs, all that, to a main job for Celtics that had been like waiting for a couple of years now to get a great season and a great run in playoffs, but has proven people wrong. I mean, as you said, like after All-Star break, the run they had, it was crazy. Like it's the winning percentage was nuts. Like it's sorry for pardon my French, but that was crazy. And then losing those like few games, the way they competed, the way they still play now. Game 1, they played still now without Rob Williams, which is a very, very, very interesting player with a big like margin for improvement. So yeah, I agree with you. Like it's a very solid team. It's going to be a tough battle for the Nets to turn things around and win that series for sure.
Well, there is a bright future, certainly, for the Boston Celtics. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about Jalen Brunson right now. Now, Parky, Jalen Brunson, he's the son of, can we call him NBL royalty, the son of Rick Brunson?
Yes, well, I played against his dad, and I guess we can call him, son of a gun. But, I think he's definitely outperformed his dad. A bit like Kyrie.
Yeah,
I played against Kyrie's dad back in the 80s as well. Over here in Australia, so that's my claim to fame.
There you go. Well, Jalen, I was about to call him Rick. Jalen Brunson dropped a career high 41 points yesterday. Had 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, becoming the 5th Mavericks player to post 40 points in a playoff game. He had 15 points in the first quarter alone on 6 of 7 shooting, so he started out absolutely scorching. Luka didn't play again, so that's 2 games that he's missed now. Dallas is 9-10 without Doncic this season. Now, I've said that if there's no Doncic, there's no Mavericks, but the way Jalen Brunson has been playing, Miguel, it might not matter, right? He could sort of maybe tip this series in the Mavericks' favor. Is this a reality, or am I sort of reaching with this?
No, I think you're right because listen, a lot of people, like a lot of NBA fans, they don't value, I think, even some media's not giving names, they don't value players like that. We're talking about a guy that won titles, NCAA level, playing for Villanova, playing for probably the best college basketball coach, in my opinion, that have been like helping also on Team USA at many levels. And look at the guys from Villanova that made it in the NBA, and he was like drafted late, first or beginning of second round. the Mavs took their time with him. High basketball IQ guy, defensive guy, good point guard, and it makes the most of the opportunities he has. And I think there's one thing too that people don't value that much for the Mavs is their versatility offensively. They have a lot of guys that can score, but also have guys that can sacrifice themselves for the team, like all the Ballots, all the Finney Smith, all those guys, the Maxi Kleber and all that. They are a solid team, and the adjustment they made before the after the All-Star break, they were right. So they played well, and even without Doncic winning that game, and even on the first game, like they battled and they played pretty hard. It's a good sign for them for now, whenever Luka comes back, but also for the future because if you check the roster, they have like a lot of young guys, they have a lot of guys under 30 years old, and I think it's great to see performance like that. So I was happy for him, and I think going to be interesting because that kind of mass culture that they've been giving, or like having some. How can I say that? The year when they won the championship, and you were seeing like some Tyson Chandler and guys like that playing very hard for the superstars and shining through. I think they have that spirit back on the way, and by gaining confidence, they win one in Utah, and everything is pretty much back on their side. So it's going to be an open series. It's going to be a very very open series, and I think that Utah is going to be. I don't know how they accept it in a way, like, or how they're going to swallow the pill from yesterday's defeat, because I think that after winning the game one, Luka is not there, so we have big advantage. But I think they got a bit surprised. So how they're going to react from that, we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the Mavs, and yeah, I'm not putting my money on the Mavs, but they can surprise.
Parky, what do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say it's as crucial as it was for the Mavs to get that game too. You wouldn't want to go to Utah down in an 0-2 hole, especially, and all the talk's been about Luka Doncic is 33.5 points. I think his career average in playoffs, which is actually more than Michael. I'm sure that's probably going to come down. It's a small sample size. I think it's about 13 games that Luka's played, But my question to you, Miguel, is obviously, well, the obvious one is how's Luka looking for Game 3 in Utah? Is it, is he expected to play in that one?
Well, I think it's 50-50 from what they say, but I think it is like trying to when you involve like superstars. There's a bit of BS also, in my opinion, about they're gonna give updates last minute. It's gonna keep saying like it's 50-50. So I think he's going to come back during the series, always game 3 or it's game 4, depending on how it goes. I think that, logically, if he's not close to being some way of being fit for the game 3, they're going to save him for that. But I still believe that they can get one win in Utah in the next 2 games, even without him. I have a feeling they can do that. I'm not a medium or anything like that, but like I think they can get a win there, like playing how they played yesterday, and it's a team that's has kind of fearless players too and defensive guys. So they're not scared of that. So they have guys who are experienced. They have guys who have like been playing in the league for a couple of years or college basketball against like tough crowds and stuff like that, or international basketball. So I think that he may come back. I think he on game 3 or max game 4, and even if he's limited, Luka is going to push it to the max, even if he plays like 70 or 80%. If he sees that he's not going to make any shots, stuff like that, he can end up with a game of like 15 or 18 assists or something like that. So impact the way in some way. I think he's smart enough to know that if he's not 100%, he has trust on his teammates and other guys can score. So it's hopefully game 3, max, I think game 4, but I think as it is today, it's still a 50-50 in my opinion.
My biggest takeaway from this segment is Parky saying that Luka Doncic is better than Michael Jordan. That's all I heard in that entire segment. Right?
No. He's got a higher playoff average at the moment. I think MJ is at around 30 point something, and Luka's 33.5. But I'm sure that's going to balance out. No, Luka is not better than MJ, mate. I'm an old guy. I'm on team MJ.
Yeah. Let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit about about the Brooklyn Nets, and then we're going to let you go, Miguel, because we know you're a very busy man. You've been covering the Nets all season, not just this season, for the last few seasons. As long as I've known you, we've known each other for about 8-9 years now. What have you seen from them in this playoff series, Miguel, against the Boston Celtics?
Well, I've seen some reaction in a way because there were many games during the season, the regular season, where they kind of not give up, but they were like, pass the ball to KD and we'll figure it out to turn things around or try to turn things around, which is a bit scary for a team that has that much players and talent and all that. So the chemistry was better, sorry, because I guess players switch to playoff mode. So it's I think that reaction like of just losing by on that play where they defended badly, because everybody watch and rewatch that last play where Jason Tatum like scores the spin move and making layup, which is like pretty rare at this level. And there's no need to blame KD or anything like that. It's the whole defense, like the whole defensive play. Like the Celtics played smart way and they saw the open line for the pass and all that. But the defense of the Nets on that play was horrible. Like it's not even a Detroit Pistons defense on a regular season. But I think it's getting better. I still think that they can win that series against Celtics. But yeah, they still have a lot of room for improvement. Well, it's complicated to judge the next season because of the COVID case, because of the trade, because of the change on the roster and all of that. But it's better. They've been showing sign of improvement on that game, but they cannot. They don't have that much of a margin of an error. They let this one go. They could have won this one, but they let this one go. Hopefully, they get one game, the next one, or the next one home. But it's better. But yeah, it's gonna be a long series. 6 or 7 games in my opinion, but that still have a shot. But it's better. But we expect more from the Nets, from like KD, from Kyrie Irving, from the whole defense in general. So that's pretty much what I see from that.
I just want to ask you one quick question, Miguel, before we let you go. We've heard talk about Ben Simmons could be coming back, and maybe Game 3, maybe Game 4. There's a lot of maybes. I saw today a good friend of you and I, Anthony Puccio, tweeted out that Simmons had his first contact practice, apparently. My concern is whether he comes back or not. Like how is he going to sort of handle the physicality of a Boston series while trying to integrate himself into a new team as well? Do you see Simmons coming back, and how much of an impact can he have if he does come back?
Well, the thing is, I'm not a GM or anything like that. If I was them, I would wait because he hasn't played in pretty much 10 months or more.
Almost a year, actually.
And it's pretty much like putting him back on the grill, literally. Well, you can take advantage of his size, a bit of his defense and all that, but he's going to be rusty for sure. That's absolutely. And my other question is like, how is he going to impact on the way that the Nets play? That's the thing. Where is he going to fit? How is he going to fit? He can help on defensive plays and help like with his passing and his basketball IQ. But I think they're trying to push, and he's pushing to come back in series. But is he coming back on Game 3, Game 4, Game 5? Who knows? Only he knows, and the net staff know about that. But it's a big question mark, and in my opinion, it's a bit risky to throw him like on the grill right now. I guess depending on the series, if they win the next game in Boston and like they turn things in their favor, so again Game 2, 3, and 4, I'll let him like keep working on his body. If not, you can try, but I have big doubts about like his potential impact on being like that rusty and haven't played in so long. It's so long. It's been almost a year. So it's a long time, even more for a guy like that, for a guy who's 6'11". Your body has to get used to that, and with the past he had with his injuries and all that. So and the injury he has of these back injuries is not an easy one to deal with. So yeah, I have a big doubts about like how he could impact if he comes back on the series. Waiting a bit, we'll see, but I'm not sure if he's going to be that much of a big impact on outside of being a bit defensive. I don't see that much of his potential impact if he comes back on game 3 or 4 or 5 of this series against Celtics.
Well, yeah, Miguel, I've just got a quick one for you. There's a lot to unpack in that the first game at TD Garden in Boston, which is probably one of the greatest first round playoff series the NBA's had for a while with the Nets and the Celtics. But what did you think of Kyrie's interaction with the crowd? And the question I've got for you is, I think it was he was fined the maximum amount, $50,000 for his interaction, if you want to call it that, with the crowd there. But firstly, well, I guess two questions. Firstly, what did you think of the fine? And secondly, Miguel, I've heard different the middle finger. Is it called flipping the bird? Is it flicking the bird? Is it giving the bird? What do you call it?
Well, it's a middle finger. It's a middle finger.
The middle finger salute.
You can call it like pretty much, but yeah, flicking the bird or everything you want to call it. The thing is, it's for me, the fine is justified on those, you know, on those NBA logic, fine and punishments. I don't agree that much with that, but you know, the example, the NBA is very try to soften a lot of rules, so they don't allow players to do stuff like that. It's also a sign that they're getting into his head in a way. So in previous games, he hasn't shown that much of like, you know, reaction. He was reacting a bit like, but there was like a couple of episodes during the game outside of the middle finger, like talking to the crowds. And even the way he talked with the fan when he got out of the arena, getting in the tunnel to go to the locker room. So I think that it's well, he's a human like everybody else. He's been going through a lot like everybody else, but it's also a sign that the Celtics fan are getting into his head. He had a first good game that kind of showed him in a way. Hopefully, the next games in Boston are not going to be another way around. Like he knows there's going to be people hate him there. Not all of the fans, but like a lot of fans don't really dislike him, and they're going to keep doing that until this series or next year or until he's done playing in the NBA, not going to the Garden. He's going to be booed, and so I think it's a human reaction. The fine, well, that's the NBA. That's the rule now. It was, you know, kind of justified. We're all human beings, but it's also on the, let's say, negative part. Yeah, the Celtics fans, they see, they notice that they're booing and insulting and all that are really getting into his head in a way. So hopefully he keeps that as a fuel, and hopefully doesn't like have a bad game or bad reaction, something like that. So yeah, hopefully it goes well for him and for them for the rest of the play. But it's intense. It brings back to, you know, being older, being almost 40, bring back to those years with the Bulls, with the Pistons, and all of that. Where we're like trash talking, some insults, some middle fingers, all of that. I know sometimes it's not a great example, but you know, it brings back to those years. And to be honest, sometimes it feels good to see that, you know, players are human, they have reactions. And I'm gonna be like softies and be like, oh, I'm not having any reaction. Keep insulting me. So it's an interaction between fan and players. It's been always the case. It's going to be always like that. So sometimes some insults, some middle fingers are going to be thrown. But yeah, I think it's an interesting situation for sure. Yeah.
All right, Miguel, we're going to let you go because we know you're a busy man over there covering the NBA playoffs right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, did you say something?
Sorry, thank you guys. Thank you a lot.
Yeah.
Had a good time. Take care. Have a great day because it's already Wednesday for you guys, right?
Yeah, it is Wednesday morning, nice and early, almost 9:30 in the morning down here. So we've still got a full day ahead of us. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of these playoffs. Hopefully we can get you back on before the NBA finals begin later on in May and early June. So thank you, Miguel.
Anytime. My pleasure, guys. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks, Miguel.
All right, Parky, we're going to take a look at some odds and, at a few of these games, and then we're going to quickly look at these and then get out of here. We're going to start off with the 3 games on the NBA slate today. We're going to have a look at the Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks right here. The Miami Heat, $1.30 favorites. Atlanta Hawks, $3.60. Lines at -8. The totals at 221 even. Live on NBA League Pass. Parky, what are you seeing from this?
Well, there's been a lot of money coming for the Heat. The Heat have actually started off at about 6.5, 7-point favourites. It's now out to 8. I still think that's a good thing. They did a job on Trae Young in that game 1. And the point total was 115 to 91. So that only adds up to 206. So I think the under 221's a good value in that one as well, Nick.
Yeah, I actually think this one's going to be a pretty quick series, so I'm going with Miami again today. Next game we're going to take a look at here, we've got Memphis and Minnesota. Memphis Grizzlies, despite losing game 1, they're $1.32 favorites in this one here. Minnesota, $3.50. Lines at -7. Total is at 240.5 right there. It's a big number there. This one's live on NBA League Pass. Parky, thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think that's a big total too, 240.5. So my pick for that one is, I'm going to go the under in that one. Game 1 was 247, but I think it's going to tighten up a little bit in this game too. The same thing with the Grizzlies. I think it's a crucial game that they must win it, and I think the bookies feel the same way, that they must win it. So they're about 6.5-point favourites. That's come out to 7 points. But I think the Grizzlies, they've got to get it done in this game too. There's no way they can go back to Minnesota down in an 0-2 hole.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I don't see them losing 2 in a row at home. I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to play hard. I think Minnesota had their fun in game 1. I don't think it's going to get repeated in game 2. I'm going with Memphis as well. Last game on the NBA slate for today, we've got the Phoenix Suns and the New Orleans Pelicans. This one starts just after midday. Phoenix Suns, again, just like game 1, big favourites here, $1.19. The Pelicans, $4.90. The line's at -9.5. Total is at 221.5. Also live on NBA League Pass today. Parky, do the Pelicans have any chance of winning a game this series?
Oh, look, they might they might grab one, but I doubt it. Look, game 1, it was a 10.5-point spread, and the Suns duly covered it by 0.5 point. So they won that game 110 to 99. They won by 11 points. So they covered the spread by 0.5 point, and now this game it's 9.5. So I'm going to stay with that. They're in the valley. Things are rolling. Chris Paul had to step up in that last quarter and just went on a rampage. I think the team generally are going to play better across the board. They're not just going to rely on Chris Paul to sort of bail them out in the last quarter. So I think they'll cover the 9.5. And I think that total will go under the 221.5.
There you go. I think this series is going to be a sweep. So just put me down for the Phoenix Suns every single game quite easily. All right, Parky, we're going to quickly look at this Philadelphia and Toronto series because we've spoken about it. You thought that the Raptors were a good chance of maybe upsetting the 76ers. It doesn't look like it's going to go that way. What are your thoughts so far on that series?
Well, I really thought the Raptors were going to sneak a game in Philly, mainly because the Sixers just generally implode. I mean, ever since this, the process started, and I think with Harden's form in the playoffs. But who saw Maxey becoming a star? Who
BK.
saw that coming?
Only BK.
Well, BK, we've got to give him the credit, I guess. He's been on the Maxey, but he's been given maximum value, Maxey. Look, the Raptors are they're actually underdogs at home, slight underdogs at home. I guess it'd be a brave man to tip the Raptors at home, but I do think they're going to win at least a game or two in this series. And I think the series odds have blown out. We've been following that. There we go. We've been following that from the start. The Raptors in an 0-2 hole are now $11 to win the series from here. But in saying that, if they do pick up, if they do happen to win Game 3 at home in Toronto, no Matisse Thybulle, hopefully Scotty Barnes can come back at some stage. Then that could be some good value there. But yeah, the Raptors looking a bit frustrated. Nick Nurse is complaining about the refs and getting into it with Embiid and things like that. So there's a bit of frustration there.
Yeah, you can see, especially when you're down in an 0-2 hole, the frustration is definitely going to come out. All right, Parky, we're running out of time here. We're going to head off. We're going to catch you again on Friday morning. As always, you're going to be bringing your expert level of knowledge to this show. So thank you very much for joining us once again. This has been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good mates over there at topsport.com.au. We'll catch you guys Friday morning.